Hi, and welcome to another episode of This and That Trio. We are honored today to have Madi, Theresa's daughter, here with us visiting. And so
now it's a quadruple, not a trio.
Oh, yeah, true. It's a quartet.
Quartet. That sounds much better.
Yeah, so we're so excited that you wanted to be on the podcast with us.
Thank you. I'm excited and nervous.
That's why we don't video.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to be careful of Aunt Trina. She's the one that asks the hard questions, actually.
I'll try to take it easy on you.
Please do.
Oh, so we're just thankful that you had safe travels and
me too, because the last episode that I listened to the day I was leaving, you were talking about the 5 plane crashes that happened. And I was like, hopefully I don't die on my way there.
Oh,
terrible timing.
Yeah. Well, we're thankful you had faith and courage to step out and travel, because it's a long ways.
Yes.
Yes, I don't envy that plane ride, but yes, it is worth it. Very worth it. And we're going to talk about weather, because you're here on such a terrible time with the ice storm and snow and more to come and Arctic blast. So
yeah, my first time seeing snow in like 2 years.
Did you miss it?
No. No. Don't miss driving in it. Well, I haven't really driven since I've been back, but it makes me nervous for sure. But it is a nice break from like the hot weather, but
I can only imagine.
It's nice to wear sweaters.
Yes, I do love cozy sweaters.
Yes, it is nice to wear sweaters again.
So how did you know how to pack? I mean, did you look ahead to the weather?
No, Kaylee told me it was going to be snowing and this was like one of the worst weeks to come. And I was like, packed all my coats. I packed a hat and gloves, but I haven't used them yet because I've just been running from like a house to a car to another house, like not really outside, which is nice because.
Yeah.
I
find myself as a grandparent continually saying, where's your coat? Where's your coat? Because, now they can't wear coats in their car seats. And so I hear Grandma and Grandpa repeatedly in my head when I see people without a coat, but I didn't wear one today.
Well, when you're just in and out, it's easier because you get hot in the car.
Right.
And especially when you go in a store, it's like,
they're so cumbersome.
Yeah. So how are you planning out your visit? You're here for not quite 2 weeks and she's got a full schedule.
Yes. And this trip has been the longest I've been here since in a few years, like the longest I've stayed in Ohio. And it was also a surprise trip. So only 3 people knew I was coming. So I couldn't plan it out until I landed. And then I was like, okay, everybody, tell me when you're free. And there's some people I'm missing, unfortunately, but like, I can't really help it. Like,
I'm impressed. Only 3 people knew.
For like 2 months, 3 months, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. That is very impressive.
Well, I only told 3 people. It might have slipped to other people.
Well, it didn't slip to any of us.
Yes, which was the point. So,
yes.
It was great.
Yes, it was a great surprise.
It was.
We won't share the videos of our reactions. Yeah, her dad and I had different reactions. He's more calm, but yet very surprised.
Yeah.
And me, Tim says I could have been on Funniest Home Videos with my reaction, but yeah. You didn't wet your pants, did you? No, I didn't. No, that was a good thing. So, yeah, it was all good.
Everyone loves your video, though.
Oh, it is. It's so heartfelt.
Yeah.
I think it's sweet. I think it belongs on the Hallmark Channel.
Good one. Oh, goodness. So tell us a little bit about your life, what you do, what you can share.
I'm in the Air Force. I'm the military child from the stories that have been told on the podcast. And I'm what they call a personnelist. So that's my Air Force specialty code, or it's the Army equivalent of an MOS. And I do just admin things. Like right now I'm working in retentions, which is just making the reenlistment and extension contracts for members who want to stay in the Air Force. And I really like that job because you're not really dealing with people so much because it's pretty cut and dry what they need to do. The only fuzzy area is when you get into like the bonuses that people get for their jobs. But other than that, I really like it. I live in Hawaii right now. Yes, it's way different visiting than living there, though, I will say. It's very, very touristy. I live on Oahu. I'm stationed on Hickam, if anyone wants to Google it. And it's very touristy. Traffic is awful. I live on the west side and work on the east side of the island. And I'm literally across the harbor. If you look on a map, I'm like, you could swim to the base and it's quicker than the drive, which is crazy.
But there's sharks in the water, right?
Yes, but I don't think they really come up to the harbor. I have not
The
seen
word think just makes me, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
That's enough doubt for me.
they are out there. I haven't seen one since I've been there. I've only seen turtles and whales, which are like what people want to see. So that's nice. But yes, my drive. Ugh, that's like my worst thing about Hawaii. I hate the traffic. I just wish I did not live so far away. But it's a 25-minute drive and I have to drive an hour because the traffic's so bad.
Oh, wow.
So,
And I can attest to that. When we visited, that traffic is atrocious.
it is. It's awful.
And the roads are bad.
The roads are horrendous. No offense, state of Hawaii, but
How about Michigan? You just went to Michigan. Is it worse than Michigan?
I would say so.
And feel free to take total offense to that, Michiganders, because your roads are awful.
No, yeah, coming back on leave, it's like, wow, these highways are actually maintained in Ohio. It's like, Hawaii could never. Like, and I feel like it's really just like, because it's so overpopulated, like you cannot help the amount of traffic. It's the worst state for traffic, like
Is that because there's a lot of people in like a dense population?
Yes. Because the island is so small, you could drive around it in one day. But there's like, I don't even know, a gazillion people who live there. Like it's so overpopulated.
Maybe it would be quicker to hop in a boat and go around the outside and come in.
So they used to do where you could boat or people would kayak from the west side to the east side. Bless you, specifically for like base access, but they stopped it because there was some type of something in the ocean where it was spread. I don't know what it was. It wasn't sharks. It was like not coral, not seaweed, something along
algae
those lines, something like that. Yes, it was spreading.
Something from the depths.
Yeah. Oh my.
Well, when we were there in November, we did that turtle tour, even though the waves were too much, we couldn't really go see the turtles. But the guy who was our guide, he was telling us and showed us where like these bathrooms, the water was like right there for these public bathrooms. But several years ago, the shore was like further out. It's the erosion and all the nature stuff that happens, and houses are like going in because 20 years ago, that's a story he told, like 20 years ago, people bought these houses and now the houses are, the ocean's up to them.
And they're falling into the ocean. And then get this, if your house falls in the ocean, you have to pay a fine.
Oh my.
Isn't that crazy?
Add insult to injury.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you either have to pick up your house and move it somewhere or pay a fine when it falls into the ocean, because it is like polluting the ocean, but it's like, what can you do?
Wow.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Yeah.
I was surprised when we visited a year and a half ago, the homeless population. I mean, they were living right by the Airbnb.
On the beach.
Yeah,
yes.
on the beach, and they caught fire. Something caught fire.
I think they were having a fire. Fire.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are homeless communities that they can stay in if they choose to, but some of them don't want to. They just want to live their own
Yeah, it was miles of tents on the beach.
Tent city, yep. And it's legal to occupy the beach in a tent. Like beach camping is legal there. You can't stop that. So
if their tent falls into the ocean, do they have to pay a fine?
I don't know about that. It probably doesn't get caught, but I don't know what.
Yeah, house is bigger. They can't hide that.
Yeah.
And chickens roam.
Yes.
And it's illegal to kill them.
Yeah. And they're just out and about.
Of course, right now with the price of eggs, we could take some chickens wandering around and follow them and here, lay an egg with our hands out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple farms on the island that are like supplying the eggs in Hawaii right now because the bird flu is messing everything up. Yeah.
I remember when we went there in 1991, Grandma and Grandpa went, and Grandma she took a picture of this homeless lady and she talked about it forever. I can't believe there's a homeless person in Hawaii. And then, when we went and there were so many, I'm like, well, I guess if I'm going to be homeless, I'll be in Hawaii.
Yeah. And I don't know how true this is. Like, I haven't fact checked it, but people say that other states will fly their homeless out to Hawaii, like say New York, for instance, because if you have someone in New York that's homeless in the wintertime, they're probably going to freeze and die. So they think, we'll just get them a one-way ticket to Hawaii where they can actually survive. But it's like, is it any better?
Wow. People go out there thinking they're going to live and it's so expensive and then they can't get back because it is expensive.
Yes, it's so expensive.
Wow. And you've been in for 6 years now?
Yes.
We were just talking about that.
Yes, it feels like I haven't been in for 6 years. Yeah.
So where all have you been stationed?
I've been stationed at Kunsan in South Korea. That was my first base. I was there for a year. Then I went to RAF Mildenhall in England. I was there for 2 years. Then I went back to South Korea to Camp Humphreys and there for a year. And then now Hawaii, I've been there for almost 2 years. Next month will be 2 years.
So which one was your favorite?
I'm not sure. Hawaii definitely has been my least favorite.
And why is that?
I never thought I would get island fever, but I'm just ready to leave. And then also like personal things. This has not been a good time. So yeah, but England I think was really fun. I had really good friends there. But Camp Humphreys, my last base, I feel like I grew a lot as a person. And so I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I remember you saying when you went the first time to South Korea and then you went to England and you were saying it was safer in South Korea.
Yes. South Korea is so safe. Like, you can just walk in the street as a woman and like not fear for your life, So, and there's kids running around. Like, it's really safe.
I would think, why was England not safe? Or not as safe?
It's not as safe. I'm not sure why.
I don't think they're allowed to carry in England.
They're not, but there would be, how people will find ways to do stuff. There was one point where people were needle sticking girls at the bars in England. So it was like a big thing, like, stay away, like be careful. You should always be careful at a bar, but people were sticking them. There was acid. People were throwing acid on women.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So they'll find other ways to take you out. Yeah, it's weird. But
we were just watching a documentary on 1812, so I find it very ironic that they don't let you carry. I guess 1812 was a long time ago. So what made you get in the Air Force? Because I remember being at your high school graduation party. I had no idea that you were going in the Air Force, and you come out with a hat that says Air Force, and I'm like, what is happening?
Oh, yeah, her siblings were not thrilled either.
Oh, my, I told
Tell
them
us
for
a story.
Christmas. So I was at a trade school in high school, and we had a Veterans Day meal, and so the little cafe that, like, there was a culinary arts center and they were doing the dinner. And then we, as the other students in the other classes, our job was to go in and like talk to the veterans. And there were these two guys and they were telling us their story and they were like, yeah, it was either join the military or go to jail. And I was like, what in the world? And I was like, okay. And I was like, they're obviously still alive. Like, they survived. And they were like, yeah, we would tell anyone to join, like, just for the benefits alone. And I was like, I never thought about that. And I was like, I was working, but I wasn't saving my money. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to go to college and get in debt. And then I was like, that doesn't sound great. And so then I was Googling, like, what the benefits of joining the military are. And it's like, oh, you get to travel, you get to have your school paid for. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see. So I did a little quiz, and it's like, what branch should I join? It came back that I should join the Air Force or the Navy. And then like, I don't know if it was that night or the next day, the Air Force recruiter in Sandusky called me, and he was like, hey, we got your information. Would you be willing to set up an appointment to talk about your future? Da, da, da. And I was like, let me talk to my parents about this. And then I think you guys were really worried. I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting that.
Oh, I mean, anytime your kid wants to go in the military, it's unknown. I mean, there's definitely side of it to be proud. And then after I went with you to the recruiter and talked, and he, of course, the recruiter's going to tell you whatever, but I felt like he was being truthful, and the Air Force would be like, quote unquote, the safest branch as far, for her. And so, yeah, I mean, we weren't going to stand in your way by any means, but yeah.
Yeah. So looking back, like going to BMT and everything, girls would tell me about their recruiters, and I did have a good, honest recruiter. So that was really good. But, I forget what I was going to say.
Well, you were just repeating why you chose to go into the Air Force. You said that you were checking out the benefits.
Oh, when I told my siblings. So I was like, oh, let's get them, because my parents knew, but Kaylee, Kyle, and Mac didn't know. I was like, let's get them some Air Force merch. And and Kaylee got a hat, I think. And she was like, what is this for? And then I was like, I'm going in the Air Force. And she cried and said it was the worst Christmas gift she ever received. And I was like, okay, thanks for the support. And then I stayed so I graduated high school in May of 2018. And then I stayed. Kaylee got married in October. And so, no, she got married.
September.
End of September. And so I stayed until October. I left and
October
went to MEPS.
2nd.
Yep. And then that's when I went to BMT. And BMT was hard. But looking back, I'm like, it was easy, but it was just stressful.
And for those who don't know, what does BMT stand for?
Basic military training. So for the Air Force, you go to Lackland. Well, it's different now, but when I joined, I was there for 8 weeks. So I went there beginning of October, and then I graduated Thanksgiving weekend, or the weekend after. It was around Thanksgiving. And yes, it was stressful. And when you go to BMT, you're on this bus and you pull up outside of the building, and it was late. So they have buses getting there throughout the day, but my bus got there late. So it was dark outside and everyone was talking on the bus. And then we got to the stop, and a MTI, a military training instructor, came onto the bus and started screaming at us to get off the bus. And I was like, what in the world? Like, what did I do? And they were like, get in line, quit talking, like, stand at attention. And I was like, what even is attention? Like, what in the world? And then they shoveled us into this auditorium, and then we sat there for hours waiting. And then we went to our dorm, and it was really late. And then we were in our dorm. I don't know what time we got there, but I just remember it was really late. And then we fell asleep. Obviously, like, you have to sleep. And then we woke up the next day, and I was like, it was light outside. And I remember thinking, like, is this fake? Like, not is this fake, but like, is someone going to come in and yell at us for oversleeping? Like, I was like, what's going on?
Like, they were setting you up for...
Yes. And then there were these 2 girls in physical training gear, and they were walking around, and they had weapons, like a rifle. And I was like, what is this? And here they were from an older class, and they were doing EC. I can't tell you what EC stands for right now, but they were doing EC duty, which is basically just guarding the dorm. And they were just like, go back to sleep. Your MTIs will be in here shortly, and then you're going to really regret it. And so, yeah, then our MTIs came in, and
did you regret it?
Yelled at a lot.
She said you're going to regret it.
During the first couple weeks, yes. But I remember 4th week, I was like, oh, this is not that bad. Like, something just clicked. I was like, I'm okay. And so, yeah, then I graduated, and then I went to Keesler in Mississippi and did my personnel course. And I was there from the beginning of December to beginning of March. And then when I was at Keesler, that's when we get our assignments. And I got South Korea, and I did not put that on my list. And I remember thinking I was going to die.
Aww. Because you were thinking of North Korea?
Yes. And I was like, I'm going to Korea. I'm going to die. Like, I can't do this. And then they were like, everyone in my class, because there's mixed classes. So we had some people who have prior enlisted, like they had been in, but they were training into a different job. And so they were like, no, you're going to love it. Like, everyone loves Korea that goes there. Like, you are going to be fine. And so I was like, okay. So then I went to Korea, and I was fine. And I loved it. And I went back again. Yeah, that's like my BMT tech school story.
And when you left South Korea the first time to go to England, that's when COVID hit. It was 2020.
Yes.
And you just made it.
Yes, because I was so I left, I can't tell what day I left, but as I left early in the morning, my flight was in the morning, the bus from the hotel to the airport left at like 5 or 6 a.m. So it was really early. And I was at the airport, got checked in, I got on my flight, I went to England. When I got to England and turned my phone on, I had a whole bunch of notifications from my past leadership. And I was like, what's going on? So I called my supervisor. I was like, what's going on? Did I do something wrong? She's like, where are you? I was like, I'm in England. And she was like, oh, well, good for you, because they just put a stop movement, which means people cannot PCS, which is,
there's a lot of abbreviations.
Acronyms. When people move, you can't move. They put a stop movement, like nobody can move, stop forces, you know? And so I was like, okay, so I just made it. And then they put me, my sponsor, which is the person who like guides you around when you first get to base. He picked me up, and him and my flight commander were like, okay, we're not really sure what's going on. And this was like when quarantine just became a thing. So they didn't really, there was no stipulations yet. And they were like, just stay in your dorm, only go to the DFAC, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. So that was like my introduction to England. But then it got better. I made friends. I moved off base. It was really fun. And England is so nice for like traveling, because you can go anywhere in Europe super cheap. And so I've been to like Italy, Germany. I went to Scotland. Well, Scotland's just drive, but went to Scotland. Yeah.
That is awesome that you have got to experience so much at such a young age. So the travel benefit was huge, and you took a great advantage of that.
Yeah.
Being able to travel.
Yeah. I think I really opened up my eyes. And a lot of people will try to like stay overseas, and I always thought I was going to be one of those people that's like, I'm going to stay overseas my whole career because I really like to travel, but now I just miss my family. So I'm like, I'm ready to move back closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the benefits of traveling are there, and they're great.
So do you plan on retiring from the military then? Or is it kind of like, how often do you have to re-up or re-enlist?
So I do plan to stay in at this moment, because I was looking at my like retirement benefits a month ago maybe, and I was like, I can't beat this. Like retiring at 38 and having a pension and like a IRA, like you can't beat that, I feel like, now, because it's so secure. So I think I do plan to stay in. The way it works, I can do extensions to my data separation, but my plan is to retrain into another AFSC. And then
what does that mean, AFC?
Air Force Specialty Code. It's my job. So if I retrain into another job, I'll have to give so many years back, and then I can do a base of preference in conjunction. So that's like me choosing my base. And if the Air Force approves all of that, I'll have to re-enlist for at least 4 years. And then I'll do that. And then at that point, I will have been by the time I leave Hawaii and do all of that, I'll have been in over 10 years. And I'm like, might as well do another 10. Like, I feel like it's flying by at this point. I don't know what the future is going to hold. But yeah, I feel like it's flying by. So I might as well stay in. And it's job secure. I don't want to say it's easy. It's definitely not for everyone. But I feel like I'm doing pretty good in it, so I might as well stick at it.
Well, some of your training, you said you had to like swim with your full gear on and do all that stuff.
Oh,
like,
yes.
You've had to accomplish a lot physically, and you have had lots of certifications.
Yes.
So you've done well.
Yes, I think so too. And the swimming stuff was the unit I was at in Korea the second time. And we did like survival swimming. It was fun. Wasn't doing it like to certify. I was mostly doing it for fun. And yeah, we would have to swim in our whole uniform. And like, I learned how to properly swim so that you don't exert all your energy and you could swim for miles. I don't think I could swim for miles, but now I know how to do it properly.
Yeah. Swim lessons as an adult.
Yes, I never had swim lessons as a kid. They got canceled when Bascom like shut down or something.
My kids hated swim lessons. They'd have to get in the cold water 8 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I'm like, but you know how to swim, right? I mean,
it's a life skill.
Yeah.
A survival skill.
Oh, what kinds of foods, like at these different countries, do you have favorite foods that you liked, or? Because I see pictures of Brianna, who's not in the military, but she shows,
abroad.
Yeah.
I think the food in other countries is really good. In Korea, they had really good ramen, of course. And
Ramen.
Yeah. But when you go to Japan and Korea, like you have to have the ramen because that's where it's from. And like the bowl is bigger than your head. Like it's not
the
noodles.
little,
Yeah, it's so good. And like I've noticed when you're abroad, the food, no offense to our government, but the FDA, our food is so bad compared to other countries. Like
Amen.
The stuff that gets through our system is so bad compared to other countries because like in England, like I feel like I was eating the same type of foods, but there was no preservatives, nothing. Like I feel like we just all as Americans have like added weight just because the food we eat has all this added stuff
yeah,
to
you
it.
Can't eat Skittles or Cheetos or Doritos in England. They're bad for you.
Yes, yeah, and their cereals are not sugary, like their actual, like, Weetabix is a cereal over there, and it's like a wheat cereal, like, Wheaties are, like, the equivalent, like, that's what they eat over there, and it's normal, so you grow up with that, and you don't crave the other stuff, and, yeah, their candy is made different, their candy tastes different, and it was just, I really liked that aspect of living overseas and eating. But Korea also has this dish called bulgogi, and it's basically just like fried meat with the sauce on it, and you serve it with rice, and that's really good. I don't know how else to explain it. And then in England, a lot of people complained about the food in England, but like I grew up in a Caucasian family, so I didn't mind the food there because it was like very like the English breakfast might sound weird, but it's like eggs, sausage, baked beans, toast, and like fried tomato. And like I thought it was kind of good, but other people are like, oh, it's so bland. And I'm like, I don't mind. But also something odd about England that I didn't think about like until going there, their Indian food was so good because they would have immigrants from India, and so it would be it was like top tier. Like that was like what you would eat in England was Indian food. And then also there was this one restaurant called Cheers, and it was like a little steakhouse, and they would bring out a black stone and you would cook your steak in front of you, and they had this really good sangria, and they had all these little side dishes with it. And like that was the place to go. Like every celebration we had with my friends, we would go to Cheers. Like it was so fun. Also, while I was in England, I went vegan, and that was interesting. It was really easy over there. And then I went to Korea, and it's really difficult because a lot of their food revolves around meat and animals. And so then when I was in Korea, I was vegetarian. And then I moved to Hawaii, and Raising Cane's. There's Raising Cane's in America, so that's what got me out of vegetarian and veganism. But while I was a vegan, I felt like I feel like my gut was really healthy, but it also could have just been like the food in England. So,
yeah, kind of a combo of everything.
Yeah, but yeah.
What besides family, when you've been away, what have you missed most about?
The convenience of America. I know, like, I do really like having like a slower life. And like when I was in England, I lived in this little town, and the only thing I could get delivered to my house was this pizza place. And like, I'm not going to eat pizza every day. So like, in Hawaii, I DoorDash at least once a week. It's so bad. But like when I was in England, I couldn't do that. So it forced me to go cook my food and meal prep and eat clean. So I hated it, but I also liked that it forced me to like actually do stuff. But yeah, that's really all I've missed. But otherwise, like, some things I've noticed that America needs to step it up are like the public transportation in other countries is so nice because you can just hop on a train and go anywhere. In Korea, there were trains and buses everywhere. Like, you could be out in the country and there's a bus stop, and you can get on that bus and get to a city. And it's so nice. They're so cheap.
So do you see less personal owned vehicles because of that?
There's still a lot of people having cars, but a lot of them use the public transportation because it's so easy. So they don't really need cars. And also Korea is more, there's farmland. There's a lot of farmland, at least where I have been stationed, but there's also a lot of cities, and they build up, they don't build out.
Right.
So there's a lot of big apartment buildings that go up 22 floors. And that's normal to live in those apartments there. Whereas like here, we would think like, oh, I don't want to live on the 22nd floor where if there's a fire, but it's normal there. And so they just don't have cars, or they'll only have cars to go like to somewhere far away, and then like to go to work or something, they'll take the bus.
So I'm thinking, wow, you must save a ton of money if you use public transportation and you don't have car insurance, a car payment, this, that, and the other. But is it expensive to do the public transport?
I thought it was cheap when I was there because you could use like $2 could get you like 30 minutes away. Like, I thought it was cheap. I don't know. Maybe I was out of touch, but I think it's very
I think that
affordable.
sounds affordable.
Yeah. And there'll be kids on the bus. Like, that's why I was like, it's really safe. Like, kids are just out and about. And like over there, the older people will like scold little kids, like it's so like the kids.
It really does take a neighborhood or a village, right?
Yes. So yeah.
I'd like to snatch some kids up sometimes and be like, do you have parents?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the public transportation overseas is way better. In England, where I was stationed, you would have to drive like 40 minutes to hop on a train, and then you could take that train another 40 minutes and you're in London. But then when you're in London, like the train is like, that's all we would use because it's cheaper than taxis and it's easier. Like the trains are running every 5 minutes. You don't have to worry about anything. So yeah. I think that. And then also everyone had Apple Pay. I feel like in the States, we're getting better for sure. At least in Hawaii, they like most places take Apple Pay. But I feel like here,
I don't even know what that means.
you pay with your phone. So you don't even have to bring your wallet around anymore. You just need your phone. And I love that.
What if you lose your phone?
Well, then you're out of luck, I guess. But I mean, I always have my phone on me. And I always have it
This
charged
younger
up.
generation.
Yeah. I love it. That's my hot takes on that.
What about acclimating to a new culture? What have been the challenges there? Have you learned a new language?
No, I'll learn like a few words. I mean, the only place
What are the key words? Tell us what the key words are.
So in Korean, you would say 안녕하세요, that's hello. And then 감사합니다, that's thank you.
So you learn your manners first.
Yes, and you say like 네 is yes and 안녕 is no. And to say goodbye, there's 2 goodbye greetings. One is if you are staying and the person is leaving, and then the other one is if the person is staying and you are leaving. I want to say if they are staying, you say 안녕히 계세요, and if they are leaving, you say 안녕히 가세요. I could have that mixed up, but it sounds very...
They both sound like queso to me. But I did have a queso burger today, so maybe that's where that's coming from. So, is Korea one of the cultures where you need to be extremely respectful of your elders?
Yes. Like on the subway and stuff, you always, even in England, on the subway, you should stand up for elders. Of course, pregnant women. And yeah, but the older people in Korea will stare at you. It's so funny. They are just like old people who have no remorse. They're just like watching you do stuff, judging you, and you're like, okay. But yeah. And one thing about Korea, like when you're handing over money or something, you always hand it with you either use 2 hands or you put your hand in your elbow and use your other, like I'm putting my left hand in my right elbow and handing my money off with my right hand. So you do not do one-handed things. When you pour water, you use both hands. I want to say the youngest person is supposed to serve and like at dinner. Oh, Korean barbecue. Didn't even talk about that.
Let's adopt that the youngest sibling has to serve. So Trina, since you like to acknowledge that you're the youngest.
But we're here for Madi right now. We're here for Madi. So back to you, Madi. Korean barbecue.
Yes,
that was funny,
barbecue.
By the way.
It's so good. You have meat and you cut it up and put it on this little grill in front of you and you cook it yourself, and you have rice and lettuce and a red bean paste and vinegar, and I don't know how to explain. You just cook it up and then you eat it, and it's so good. But yeah, usually one person is cooking for everyone. Some people will take turns, but yeah, that's really good. If there's a Korean barbecue spot in Toledo, I want to say, I went to it the last time I was home with my sister. It's so good. So if you guys are ever over there, you should try it. They also have bubble tea.
I don't even know what bubble tea is, but I know it takes a big straw. So the Korean barbecue place, I never would even think to go there with, but wait, do we have to cook our food? Like, let's go back to that black thing where you have to cook your own food. Do you have to pay for that?
Yes, you're paying for the food and you're cooking it yourself, but it's like a fun little experience.
Okay, repeat what you just said.
So that was Tim's reaction a couple years ago. We went to Black Rock restaurant up in Toledo, and that's what you do. They bring out this hot stone, and you cook your meat. It's not cheap. We had gift cards, thank goodness. And he literally said to the waitress, "You're charging me this price and I have to cook my own meat." I mean, I could have crawled under the table, but
I would have been saying amen. Like, to me, that's just a little unfathomable. But I get what you're saying. It's for the experience. So what has been your coolest experience since you've left home, since you graduated?
Oh my, I don't know.
Because I've seen some pictures where you're like at a waterfall, or you're way up high and you're like seat belted in at a restaurant. Like, what was that about?
That was London in the Sky. It was a table.
That sounds like a song.
It was a table on a crane, and it lifts you up, and then they serve and cook the food and serve it to you while you're in the sky. That was really fun. Yeah.
So you're like literally up in the like.
Yeah, and like your chairs are the tables and chairs are all connected. It's like a platform that just lifts up.
I mean, literally my feet are tingling.
Yeah,
like how high in the sky?
hurts.
Oh, not that high. It's definitely like you won't want to fall, but like it's not.
I think that when I sit at a high top table,
It's probably
break a hip.
I don't really remember how high it was, but I want to say it's probably like level to the second floor of a building. I want to say, but I could be wrong.
That sounds.
Yeah. But England was really good for outdoor stuff. Like I used to go camping and stuff. Like I would camp on my own. So I'm like, this is fun. And there are so many hikes over there, and their hikes are funny because you'll be walking through like sheep pastures. You get to like a gate, and they have ladders. You just climb over the fence and into another pasture and keep walking. And that's just how they are. And I think the coolest the coolest and like most difficult hike I did was Ben Nevis. And it was a proper hike, like snow on top of the mountain hike. And it took 4 hours up and 4 hours down. And I cried on the way down, but I did it.
Good job.
Wow. You're so independent's not the right word.
Confident.
Brave. Just
adventurous.
Adventurous. Leave home and do all of these trips. And like you said, gone camping by yourself. It's amazing.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. I want to do that more. Because Hawaii has really good hikes, but Hawaii has really difficult, like, you're stepping on a rock that's half your height type of difficult. And I'm like, what in the world? Yeah. But I do want to do that more because...
Have you taken a helicopter ride, like to a volcano, kind of?
Not to a volcano. I've done a helicopter ride around Oahu, and that was cool because there's this one fall. It's called Sacred Falls, and you could only access it from a helicopter because you can't hike to it anymore. There's mudslides and stuff, but that was really fun. But I have not been to any of the other islands, and my cousin is visiting in June, and so I'm like, we're going to do an inter-island cruise, and...
Oh, you're going to island hop?
Yes.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yes. So I'm excited to go to the other islands because the big island has like a green sand beach, a black sand beach, a red sand beach. And I'm like, that would be really cool.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. So
as a young person and being away from home, what are some ideas maybe our listeners could gather if they have family or friends that maybe even aren't in the military, but they just live far away, to keep connected and encourage those family members or friends who are further away?
I know like people from church would still send me cards and letters, and I would appreciate that because it's nice to have like people thinking of you. And then calls and texts are great, especially when you're on different time zones.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you have a different phone number and you have to pay extra or something. Like for the longest time I was texting my parents from my email.
Yeah.
Because it was going to charge me to text a US number. And so like that type of stuff is great. I'm fortunate that my parents can come and visit me where I'm stationed. And I'm like, that's amazing. Because it's really nice to come home and have time home, but it means so much when your family comes and visits you. Because not everyone gets that.
Is it a close-knit community within the Air Force where you're stationed, or does that matter? Like you said, you had friends in England. Does it just matter wherever you're stationed, or is the Air Force like a tight-knit group?
It matters where you're stationed. In Korea, it's really tight-knit, usually. At least at Kunsan it was. And Camp Humphreys, it was pretty tight-knit. But at Kunsan, nobody can have their dependents there, so there's no family there. So you really have to lean on, like, your coworkers. And that was great, because I was a single airman, and I didn't have any family, like, at where I was stationed. So it's like, I could go to my coworkers and be like, do you want to do this weekend? And they would be down for it because they have nothing better to do. So that was great. And then I went to England, and it's a bigger base, and we had more airmen. And so I was an airman at the time too. So I could hang out with other airmen, and that was great. And so that's how I had friends there. And then when I went to Camp Humphreys, I had 3 girlfriends and then also my church family, and I could hang out with them. And then again, like Camp Humphreys, I only had one friend who had her son there, and her son was little, but we would all hang out still because, like, she didn't have any adults with her. It was just her son. So yeah, it really just depends where you are. Overseas bases generally are more close-knit because you don't have your immediate family. You can't drive home for the holidays. So usually you're at a friend's house or you're at your supervisor's house for the holidays. And then, like Hawaii, most people can fly home or have family come into Hawaii. So it's a little bit more like you go to work and you go home with your family and, like, don't do stuff outside of work together, which is okay. But it is hard for, like, single people, I feel like. And so you have to find other ways to get into a community. So, yeah.
So when you are going to these different bases and then you leave to go to a different base, are you staying in contact with any of those people? Or is it like, we're here for each other while we're here, but hey, I'm getting shipped to Hawaii, so...
I feel like it really depends on the friendship, because there are people who stay in touch, but I'm really bad about staying in touch with people. And so I feel like most of my friendships have been really strong while we're together, and then it kind of just fizzles out when I move.
Yeah.
I do have one friend from England that I still talk to. Like, I would still consider her a friend. I know what's going on in her life right now, not like I don't know anything about her anymore. But other than that, yeah, it's just like oh, congratulations or happy birthday type of thing, which is fine. I don't feel anything is wrong with that. I feel like that's how the military is, because you have to, like, bond during that time. And then when you move, you kind of move on and you bond with new people, because I'm like an in-person type of friend anyway. So I feel like that's how it's been for me. But other people will say different things, I think.
Yeah. How have the church services been in the different bases that you've been? Because I remember when we went to your basic training graduation and we went to church with you that Sunday, and I still can picture it all. It just seemed like all the kids on the base were there, and they were really worshiping. Like, it was awesome. But anyway, go ahead.
I will say the BMT church is way different than any other church, because that's like your outlet. That's like your time that you could be a person versus like a trainee. So I will say that one is way different than other churches. When I was at Kunsan and in Mildenhall, I didn't really go to church often. I would go to the on-base churches a few times, but it was not... the services weren't great. Like, it just felt
like it wasn't authentic.
Yeah.
Like it
felt like a check in the box, everybody go home type of thing. There wasn't really community. And then when I was at Camp Humphreys, I don't know what the Army is doing, but that church was doing it right. And that was an Army base. Or Army garrison. And that church was really great. Like, community was really important. And I think it's because everyone didn't have family there. Like, that was how you found community. And so that church was great. I had a great small group. I was in a women's small group and then also like a young adult one. And those were great. And then now in Hawaii, I went to the church on base once when I first got there. And I just didn't feel... it felt like how Kunsan and Mildenhall felt. It did not feel like a church community. It felt like people were just going there Sunday and going back home. And then I went to an off-base church, and that one's more of a contemporary modern church. And like they have a band, they have youth and stuff in Sunday school. Well, not Sunday school, but the kids have like their church service. And I really like that church that I'm at right now. So, yeah.
And you help in the nursery?
Yes, I'm a nursery lead, and I'm in the 0 to 2-year-olds, and it's really fun. They're so cute.
So is there anything that you want to say that we haven't asked or anything?
I really love the podcast, and it's so nice to hear you guys talking because it feels like I'm like there. And so that's really nice.
Very good. And you've been able to Zoom on our Bible study, so that's been good. I've got to correct it for Brianna. I'm doing something wrong. Yeah. So we'll be glad to have you in person for one as well.
Yes.
So, well, we go around, as you know, and end with what we're grateful for. My gratefulness is, as a family, we've started this venture with creating a craft show, and it's getting bigger and bigger than we thought, and my dreams are coming true. So next up will be the communal living dream. But I'm just grateful that it's taking off, and hopefully people show up.
Mine, of course, obviously, is Maddie's surprise visit. It was just really wonderful. Mine is that everybody is on the mend. It's been a week of a lot of sickness, so I'm glad everybody's feeling better.
Mine is that I am home, and last night I got to have a sleepover with my cousins, and that was great. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
And I have a feel-good story.
Oh, yes. So I hope it's not about dogs.
No, it's about a cat.
Oh!
So it's been really icy, and, it's been twice now. It's just been like hail, but it's been ice, and it's hard to get the roads cleaned up and everything. But so our brother down the road, there was a stray cat that was coming around, and it was like its paws weren't quite working on the ice and stuff. And he brought it back into his barn and nursed it back. And it was...
Is this a true story?
It was really like, I don't know, we really hoped it. And I think he's keeping it now, and it's going to be a friend to Sophie. So
Wow.
I thought that was
impressed.
really, really nice.
We'll save my story for the next time then. Very good. Well, we'll go ahead and end in prayer. And thank you again, listeners, for being with us another week. Lord, we thank you for the safety you've given all of us, and for the healing touch you've given, especially in Trina's family. There's a lot of illnesses going around. We thank you for the safety of having Maddie home, and the encouragement that brings just in the winter blue times to have something great happen and to enjoy this time with her. We thank you for your love that you give each one of us, and the encouragement. May we keep our ears open and our hearts open to what you have to show us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Good job, Maddie. Wasn't that fun? Is that the first podcast you've ever done?